name is Maria Lazarte, and I'm ISO Social Media Manager. Today, 4 experts will be answering your questions on ISO 50001. This energy management system standard can help organizations become more energy efficient and thus reduce unnecessary waste and costs, but also help ease the strain on the world's energy resources. The standard can help you set and achieve energy goals and measure results. According to the German Federal Environmental Agency, 2 years after publication, over 3,500 sites of organizations had, in 60 countries had achieved the certification to ISO 50001 and were seeing results. So we now invite you to take advantage of this opportunity to ask our experts any questions that you may have on the subject, sending them by Twitter or posting them on the event page on G+, using the hashtag ISO 50001GH. I will now briefly introduce our 4 experts who will be answering your questions during the next 30 minutes. But please check the event page to see their more detailed bios. So first we have Dean Desai. Hi, Dean.
Hi.
She's a project manager at the Georgia Institute of Technology and has been involved in developing, implementing, and maintaining management systems based on ISO 50001, and she's joining us from the US. We have from the UK, we have Kit Ung. Hi, Kit.
Hello.
He specializes in energy and carbon reduction strategies. He has authored several publications on the subject. Then we have Alberto Fossa. He's joining us from Brazil. Hi, Alberto.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, he's a coordinator of research and development projects for the Energy and Environmental Institute of Sao Paulo, and he's also very involved in standardization. And of course, we have from the US also Jason Knops. He's secretary of the ISO committee that developed and maintains ISO 50001.
Hello.
Hi, Jason. How are you?
Great.
So we have already received some questions, so we are going to we're going to start with Alberto, maybe.
Okay, no problem.
Hi, Alberto. Okay, why do you think we need an international standard for energy management? Why can't a company just come up with their own scheme or pick other existing schemes?
Well, we can use 50,001 together with the other schemes like 9,001 or 14,001. When we developed the 50,001, we talked that the companies can use together previously management systems existence in their companies. It can be used together in order to make more easy perspective to implement the requirements of this new standard.
Okay, thank you. I will now have a question for Dean. Dean, if this is a new process for an organization, where do we start? Like, what would you say to somebody who has like never ever done any type of energy management before?
One of the best places to start is where they are now. They can start with understanding what type of energy sources they currently have. They can start with their current utility bills. They can start by taking a look at how they might, as an organization, benefit from an energy improvement, and then looking at who in their organization can best help them achieve those improvements, because they want to focus on the types of energies they have and the type of improvement as an organization they want to gain.
Okay. Thank you, Dean, for that. I would like to now turn to Kit. Kit, can you tell us how complicated is it really to use ISO 50001? I mean, would you recommend it to an SME? And if yes, is there any type of advice that you would give them? and so on. Thank you.
Sure do. A lot of people actually don't really understand what a management system standard is about, and what they do is they implement 9001 as a project, 14001 as a project, and maybe 50,001 as a project. If we actually strip back all the plans, all the do's, all the checks, and all the act, and actually look at what actually made plan, do, check, and act work, it's really about how the company actually works the existing processes. And for me, I always ask people to have a good understanding of how the internal processes work. How do we set about putting an inspiring vision for the company in terms of 50,001? How do we use consistent terminologies? How do we involve the whole organization? How do we put a transparent and appropriate performance management systems, locating the resources early, and then start to continue to develop and learn from it? I mean, once we got that basis right, ISO 50001 essentially is that, plus a little bit of energy features in there. Thanks, Maria.
Okay, and just building on that same question, Kit. One of the, I would say that one of the issues that, or concerns that a lot of people highlight when using ISO standards is that, you know, it involves a lot of paperwork, or it involves a lot of cost. So, can you tell us, like, how would you respond to these concerns? I mean,
yeah, I get that question quite often, Maria. In the UK, the shortest and compliant ISO 50001 is actually 2 A4 pages. There's nothing really complicated about it. What I really normally get people and managers to do is to think about what are the existing processes that the organization use, and then tailor 50,001 to it. And I mean, in some organization, the 50,001 essentially is just a map to say that document's kept there, that document's kept there, and it's as simple as that.
Okay. Does anybody else want to add anything to that regarding the concerns that people may have before they start using the standard? Dean or Alberto?
Yeah.
Most people find that 50,001 gives them great power in understanding their energy data, and therefore they are able to make better decisions because they understand the energy numbers. And they find a lot of comfort in that.
Okay. And I think what's also quite interesting is that in the end, the ones that benefit are the organizations, because they save costs and they reduce waste. Dean, we received a question asking if is it okay if an environmental management system does not cover all of the organization's boundaries. So basically, I understand that does the system have to cover the entire set of the organization's processes, or can it be limited?
We get that question often. Defining the scope and boundaries of the management system does allow an organization to focus their program and to manage their resources. But we do recommend that they do not divide their energy sources or systems. It becomes very difficult to manage it if you put it into little bitty pieces. It's very hard to say I'm only going to include a piece of my electricity or a piece of my steam system. So we do recommend you do not do that. But outside of that, you can include pieces and parts and expand as your capabilities and your resources allow. And that is pretty common, and to update as your system grows.
Okay. Now I would like to turn to Jason. Jason, we received a question asking if there was a rumor that there's a new ISO standard under development which will incorporate ISO 50001 and ISO 14001. Is this true?
That is not true. There is no work in process that is going to look to, merge these two documents together. There has been some work in ISO to make sure that the existing management system standards that are out there are able to be used with new management system standards. So, they're becoming more aligned and closer together, but there is no plans to bring the two into one standard.
Okay, well, thanks for clarifying that. Alberto, another question that we received asked, what is the best way of using energy management to predict energy prices trends? Would you be able to help with that one? Yeah.
Well, it's not quite simple to connect to the implementation of energy management or any kind of management related to prices. But in a global analysis, if we could understand that the people living are consuming a lot of energy day by day, and in a terrible perspective, because we don't know if you have enough energy to support this growing around the world. So using energy management systems is related to reduce the global uses of energy. It is related to create scenarios with a normal situation about the price, without pressure about prices, making movement to increase a lot the future price of energy. I think this is the relation we can see in using energy management system.
Okay, thank you, Alberto, for that. Yes, and what is quite interesting is that like we have some estimates that say that the standard could impact up to 60% of the world's energy use. So that's quite amazing, because not only does it help organizations, but ultimately it helps the planet. So another question that I would like to ask is that, would you say, like, to somebody who's already familiar with energy efficiency and energy improvement, whether they have something to gain out of using this standard in particular, or sticking to whatever they already know? Maybe like Kit or Alberto, who would you like to say something about it?
Let me begin by saying that a lot of people are very good in energy efficiency or energy reduction, but what a management system put in place is a very specific plan, and then carry out the plan, and then do exactly out what the plan says, and then check that we're receiving it. So there's actually a closed loop element to actually make people think about, is this the right thing to do? Am I doing the right things to achieve the results? Because traditionally, a lot of people do projects on a very ad hoc basis, and a management system adds to what their knowledge is by putting a structure, and then help make the reduction happen.
Okay.
Yeah, may I complement a little? I was involved in a project in Ecuador, here in Latin America. It was amazing. The first result is of a group of companies, industrial companies, implementing energy management systems. They could realize a reduction of costs and almost 30% of in some process. It's amazing results for first implementation, just because the organization starts to look about the uses and changing some particular procedures and process, causing a great advantage of cost. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Sorry, go ahead, Tina.
And here in the U.S., companies who've been working in energy efficiency for over 30 years, who've implemented ISO 50001, have seen an additional 10 to 25% improvement in their energy efficiency improvement programs attributed to 50001. And that was something they found quite amazing. and it was specific to 50001 and the sustaining effects of the program.
And those are quite impressive figures. So do you think it makes a difference whether, in terms of benefits, whether it's a small organization or a large organization? Do you think they both have to gain as much?
We've seen companies as small as 15 people implement 50001 and achieve significant benefits. In fact, they've saved enough money that they were able to add another shift. And we've seen companies that were mid-size and large size save significant amount of money as well. So they all have saved time and money. We've seen both industry and commercial businesses save money. Again, small, mid, and large. It's worked both in industry, commercial businesses, service sectors. It hasn't really mattered whether it was small size, mid size, large size, or in sectors, whether it's transportation, service, commercial, or industry.
Okay. That is quite interesting, actually, to hear. Another question that I would like to ask, is that ISO 50001 is it's a standard, but it's part of a wider package of standards that are currently under development. So perhaps Jason, can you tell us a little bit more about what ISO is working on that will complement and promote the implementation of the ISO 50001?
Yeah, sure. So currently there are 5 standards being developed in the Technical Committee 242 in ISO. One of them is ISO 50002 on energy audits, which is the purpose is to define the processes leading to the identification of opportunities for the improvement of energy performance. So it's basically a detailed review of the energy performance of an organization, a process, or both. And they're planned and conducted as part of the identification and prioritization of opportunities to improve energy performance. And this standard can be used to complement 50001, or it can be used on its own. The second standard being developed now is ISO 50003, and this is requirements for bodies providing audit and certification to energy management systems. So this is a standard that is to be used in conjunction with the ISO IEC 17021, which is the standard that most people dealing with conformity assessment with management system standards are familiar with. But the 50003 goes beyond to show the energy part of the conformity assessment. The third one is ISO 50004, which is guidance for the implementation, maintenance, and improvement of an energy management system. And basically, that's what it is. So this standard is trying to help organizations and individuals understand the requirements of 50001 and what they could do in order to implement this and achieve continual improvement in energy management and energy performance. Then we have ISO 50006, and this is focused around the energy baseline and energy performance indicators. So some of the main requirements of the ISO 50001 are around energy baseline and energy performance indicators. So this standard will help organizations understand and give guidance to how to meet the requirements of 50001 related to the energy performance indicators and energy baselines. And then the fifth one that we are currently working on is ISO 50015, which is measurement and verification of organizational energy performance. So this is to provide to establish a common set of principles and guidelines to be used for measurement and verification of organizational energy performance. So those are the 5 standards that are currently in development in Technical Committee 242 at the moment. And if you have any further questions, a couple of the rest of the folks here are very familiar with them, but that's just a very quick overview of the standards we're working on that will support 50001 and energy management in general.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Jason. I see there's a lot of work going on. You guys are being quite busy. I think what I can tell is that some of these standards that are being developed are going to be more for audit and certification bodies. But for organizations themselves, I guess their main concern is ISO 50001. And can you
yes.
go?
Yeah, sure. I mean, but so ISO 50001, yeah, that is like the main standard. That's the one you'll get where there's certification around it. But these other standards that are coming along, and I think, for this group that's viewing, several people may be, not so familiar with energy management systems or 50001. And so 50004, I think, is going to go right along with the 50001 to give more details for people to understand a little bit more about it and how to go about implementing the 50001. But then, the energy baselines and energy performance indicators, I think, is really going to go a long way to help people understand those requirements of the standards, because during development we had a wide range of international positions that we tried to kind of coordinate into, because here we're developing one standard for the whole world, and we had many people coming in with some different perspectives. So I think that each of these standards are going to serve a very good purpose in helping people understand what it is we're trying to accomplish here.
Well, thank you very much, Jason, for that. We have just a few more minutes. I would like to ask I think it's very clear that this standard has a lot of benefits for organizations, large and small. But if you're completely new, if you've never done anything similar to this, where should an organization start? What are the first steps, and how long will it take? Maybe Dean, would you like to give a few tips on this?
One of the first places a lot of organizations have started is very simply, what kind of energy do I have and how much of it am I using? Another place that they've started has been a very simple step, and that is, what can I do to engage everybody in the organization in better understanding how I'm using that energy and why am I using that energy? Just because I've always done it that way doesn't mean it's the best way to do it. So what ideas can I bring to improve the way I'm using it? You'll find that every employee in the organization has great ideas for improving energy. You give them the opportunity to listen and to be engaged. As Kit mentioned earlier, engaging the employees is very important.
Okay, that's a very good tip, knowing that we have to engage the employees and getting them on board. So just, we're almost out of time, so just before we conclude, it would be nice to hear maybe one tip from each of you that you would like to share with our viewers, something that you would like to leave them with regarding the standard, like a tip of advice, practical advice, or any other interesting bit of information you'd like to share. So maybe let's start with Alberto.
Yeah, I can start. It's difficult to talk about particular tips because we have a group of requirements, but certainly the involvement of the top management is the first thing to think about when we are talking about energy management systems. The involvement of top management is critical to successful for this process. I think this could be a tip.
Okay. Who'd like to go next? Maybe Dean?
Focusing on energy performance and thinking about ensuring that you are focusing on those numbers and looking at where you're starting and where you want to go.
Great. Kit, do you have any advice you'd like to share?
Yeah, the end talked about knowing where the organization uses energy, and what I normally tell people is that compare that with where the organization's competitor are, because, I mean, without knowing that information, organization might set a target, but if the competition is doing a lot faster than what the organization is doing, then we will be losing competitive advantage.
Okay. Jason, any words you like to share?
Yeah, sure. So in this committee that develops this work, there's 68 countries involved currently, and they're involved through the national standardization body in your country. So I think that many people could look to the committee or the group of people in their country to get questions answered. I know that in both, in the countries here, Alberto, Deanne, and Kit have been very helpful in their countries answering questions, and I know that other countries do the same thing. So when there are questions, people could come to me as the secretary of the committee, but they could also go to their national standardization body and get involved, or just learn a little bit more about it.
Okay, well, thank you, Jason, for that. I mean, that's quite interesting. I think I will add your contact information and the list to the ISO members so that some of the viewers who see this video can get in touch with you or their ISO member if they're interested in getting involved.
Yeah, great.
So I would say thank you all. This is all we have time for today. Thanks, Alberto, Dian, Jason, and Kit.
Thank you.
Very informative. Thank you for sharing your time. And to all our viewers, I hope that you have enjoyed this event. It's the first time that we do it, so it's a trial for us, but we'd like to bring you more events of this sort. So please leave us your comments and feedback. Tell us what you like, what you didn't like, and we will do our best to bring you more content of this format. We hope to see you all soon. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Maria, for organizing.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.